he had left. Next day, we're packing up to leave. I'm seeing his head bobbing at the bottom of this hill that's off in the distance. You can see this head just going back and forth, left to right, left to right, left to right. And I'm like, that's got, what else could it be? There's one walking across the field. Black, massive. Me and my wife was sitting there and watched it gliding across that field with just such ease, such smoothness.
So this is the Cryptid Creature Show. I am Brian, and with me as always my co-host Todd. What's up, buddy?
Brian, my friend, tonight's guest is Eric. And Eric's had a lot of Bigfoot experiences and encounters, actually, where he's from. And we're going to bring him on and talk to him about some of those tonight. We may bring him back on for a second show. He's got a lot going on and had a lot of experiences. So don't want to waste too much time. And we'll just bring him on and see what he's got to say. So with that, are you ready?
Yep, let's get him. Hey, Eric, how you doing?
I'm doing okay. How about yourself?
Good.
Thanks for being here with us tonight, Eric.
It was a pleasure.
We know that you had an encounter. When and where did you have this happen?
Well, it all started in 2017, living way down in the Boot Hill, Missouri, down there in the Boot Hill. Flat, sandy, nothing. I mean, you very seldom see deer or anything else. And a guy posted a Bigfoot print over in Malden, about 20 minutes from where I lived. He wouldn't tell nobody where it was at or anything else. I'm like, I can't believe they're in this area. Which that particular family only stayed in the area during that time, that summer. I don't know if you've ever heard of Bader peaches, but they were just tearing the trees up, eating everything they could. Once the peaches ran out, they quit, moved on, and they ain't been back since. So I decided I would try to look for a local group in the area. I already had my own group doing ghost hunting, and so I found a local group. And then one day when I was trying to find some ghost spots, somebody told me to try the Boogey Woods, and they're full of ghosts and all sorts of things. Witches and Civil War graveyards, everything. But in researching the area, I found out there was Bigfoot in the area, which was only 50 miles from my house. Me and my wife had been out there a couple of times doing recon, trying to find the old graveyards and stuff. And we had went out there a third time and found prints with another couple. So that got me kind of excited about it. I found a local group out of Cape and got with them and started doing stuff with them. And one guy was interested in going out hardcore. I said, hey, I'll go with you. And we went out for 2.5 years every other weekend. And needless to say, it was a very hot spot. I don't think it's as hot as it was. And I've seen the thing 6 times. Anything from a shadow running across the parking lot, seen 2, possibly more, up on a hillside. And the only thing that got my attention was one was just swaying back and forth. And this was January 4th of 2022, about 8 o'clock in the morning, packing up to leave. Well, I just threw my phone up, took a picture, and there's the silhouette of one further up, standing there on the hill. You can see the head, the shoulders, one arm. But at that time, my phone, it didn't zoom in good enough. I had it zoomed in as far as I could go. The phone I've got now, I can look at craters on the moon, so God forbid if that one happens again. But, no, went out there. I've been screamed at, yelled at. I've heard owl calls turn into tunes. When you sit there, hear a barn owl going off over and over and over. And I grabbed my parabolics, pointed in that direction, heard it go off about 15 more times with owl calls. Then it just went into a tune. Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Little puppies barking. I've had that happen twice. And these have always happened in the spring. Now, I would think if it's any kind of a domestic puppy or dog that was just dumped in the area, you would think, well, it would come running up to you, especially if it's hungry. No. Which I knew they were there in that clump of trees anyway. And it was just a baby. I guess the first time I seen one, the best, was Labor Day weekend of 2021. There was 17 of us out there at the campsite, and we were hiking, yelling, screaming. That many people, you just forget all about your equipment. And it's about 8 o'clock at night. The last couple that had left at 7 o'clock from the parking lot. Needless to say, that's kind of important. So there was 8 of us left. We were gathered away from the fire because it was about 70 degrees, too hot to be hanging around it. And I was situated, my daughter was sitting next to me, my oldest daughter, and we had her back to the parking lot. My wife was at the end facing toward us. She could see the parking lot. There was a full moon coming up from behind it. And second vehicle in, she kept saying, somebody's in the parking lot. She could see the silhouette, and she's like, where's Mike? Mike's a big guy. And I'm like, Mike's right there. He's right across from me. But she said, somebody's in the parking lot. And this went on for 10 minutes, maybe longer. And I'm like, I just kept trying to blow it off. Woman, Darla, she was sitting next to me on the bench for the picnic table. She tried looking over there, and she's like, all I see is the glare off one of the truck lights, which I imagine the campfire was right there in her way. And finally, I'm like, you got to be kidding me. It dawned on me. There is something in the parking lot. I jumped up, spun around. But this time, it had done moved probably 60 feet. Standing in front of another car, and it was 8 feet, shoulders almost as broad as the car. And I see these 2 red, orange, glowing eyes staring right at me. I mean, these eyes are like, you got a fireplace insert, it's got a door with glass, and you see the orange and the red flying, floating up. That's what it looked like with the eyes. And I mean, this thing was massive. And I just threw my hand up, and I'm like, pointing at it. There it is. There it is. Somebody grabbed the spotlight. I took my eyes off of it, looked down. Wrong thing to do. Always keep your eyes locked on it. Because took my eyes off, boom, went in the woods. We found our lights, went running in a parking lot, and here's this pea spot about 3 foot around. Nobody been in that parking lot for over an hour. And I don't think anybody out there's got a bladder of probably half a gallon or more. My wife's got her hands in it, rubbing it in there, sticking her hands in everybody's face. Yeah, it's pee. And we're all just wondering, what's up? And I was in about the middle of the parking lot when I heard something. And you could tell there was 3 different ones that was talking. Just talking some gibberish. And I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. Are they griping at us or what? But they were sitting there talking. Now, these woods are normally lit up at night with them yelling and screaming back and forth. Hour before sunlight, you get a wood knock. Normally 3 wood knocks. And it's to call them in. But they had ran off down there and talked, and it was the weirdest stuff you ever heard, but the vocal itself, the one's voice was just so low. There's no way I could even attempt to even mimic that voice. But it was something we didn't understand. And so we're like, okay, this is not good. It's good, but it's not good. We ran them off. And it was dead quiet for the rest of the night. No more excitement after that. And so me and my wife, there was 8 other witnesses that was there. And they got to see, well, they really didn't get to see, but they got to hear it talk. They got to see the pee. It was just extraordinary because that's the closest we'd had one come out in the open to us. It was just absolutely amazing. Now, I'm going out there every other weekend for 2.5 years, and it was rough. This was hardcore camping, nothing easy. Well, we go back, we're out there Thanksgiving weekend. My wife, 2 of my daughters, their husbands, had 4 grandkids, and then 2 of the other team members with us. And we were out there, and it was cold. I'm talking 20 degrees. We were all freezing. And my daughter had her tent set up. I had mine tent set up. Had 5 people in mine. It's a 6-person tent. Now, you can imagine two cots and an air mattress. You don't move around much, plus a heater going. We had 2 granddaughters at the back of my truck at the back of the tent. It's got a camper shell on it, so they were closed up in it. And then my daughter, she had a small tent that had her family in it, the other daughter. Well, about 3 o'clock, I get up, I got to go. So I come up out of the tent. It had been a quiet night since then. And we get up, and the one son-in-law is up. And he's a little bit frantic. He's got the fire roaring. And he's like, man, something is down there in that pond. There's a good-sized little lake down there that the federal takes care of. They stock it and everything else. It's got a little fishing hole. And he said something had been down there in that water playing in it for the last 3 hours. And that a stick come flying down out of a tree at him. And I'm like, why didn't you wake me up? I've got night vision binoculars right here in this tote behind the tent, everything else. And he's like, well, it's done quit now, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, great. So when we'd gotten up, the dogs got loose. I've got 60-pound Dotson pit bull breed. It's a mixture. She's a hunter, and she can be very playful, very sweet. Well, my daughter's dog is like their best friends. They got out and poof, they were gone. They were out running. And they had been doing that every time we take those 2 dogs out there. They're just all over the place. Zoom, zoom, zoom. And it got to be about 4:30. We're like, man, we got to get back in the tents. It's freezing. So we all get back in the tents. Well, the dogs show up. So daughter in a small tent, she just unzips it, lets her dog in. I ain't got no room in the tent for mine. So the other son-in-law got up that was in our tent, grabbed her, threw her in the back end of my truck, and, closed it up, got in, got back to bed. I wake up 10 minutes later to this horrible smell. I'm sitting up on the bed, ready to throw up. And I can sit here and hear this growl that's at the back of my tent. I can hear this growl that's coming from the inside of my truck because it's a little bit more muffled. So I'm sitting there. I sleep with a pistol with me when I'm out there. Had a Smith & Wesson 9mm. And I'm ready to shoot up through the tent in case things go sideways. And they're growling back and forth. I was afraid to wake anybody else up. I didn't know if this thing was just going to start beating the crap out of my truck or come after the tents. So I'm sitting there, and it finally walks off without having to say anything, without having to shoot the top of my truck or my tent up. It gets about 100 feet from the camp and just starts screaming at us. I mean, screaming. Wakes everybody up. Everybody's like, what is going on? I said, well, we just had one in the camp, and it was mad. Well, my dog, when she wants to play, what she does is she'll run circles around you. And she'll run circles to where you can't grab her. She'll get close to you where you think you're going to get her. No. And I know that's what she was doing. She went out there playing with this poor thing and then come running home. I guess she was feeling uncomfortable. So everybody got up next day, and needless to say, kids, everything else, they were ready to go. And in a way, I didn't blame them, because right there where we're camping is a pathway that they travel to get their home. There's an old cave that's caved in. You notice? Caved in. I haven't been to it. At least if I do go, I'm not going by myself. I'm told that it's caved in. I don't think it's that caved in, because that's where they're staying at. And so we wrapped it up for that trip. We went out again during the New Year's Eve, and we had some family down from Indianapolis, and we had a big tarp, well, not tarp, but one of those canopies over the top of the picnic table to help keep things dry. And it was tilted a little bit, let stuff run off. Plus the wind was blowing a little bit, messing with the fire. And all of a sudden, that tent jumps, that canopy jumps 3 feet. I mean, it's just all of a sudden, boom, makes everybody jump. Now, there's quite a few people in the camp. We're talking 3rd of June. It's cold. And so a couple of us jump up, start looking, and we find softball-sized rocks on the grass. Grass was about knee high where these things landed. It wasn't in the grass where the grass had grown around it. It was on the grass that it was laying the grass down. There was 2 of them. I figured the juvenile sat there, tossed them, got the tent to jump, hee-hee-ha. So they're normally by the second night, they've got us pegged, they're watching us. There's at least 2 to 3 out there watching us at all times. Nighttime, I think there's even more. And so the next night, we're out there, nice and quiet. Game warden even showed up, had a talk with us. And we're like, hey, that's great, blah, blah, blah. And so he had left. Next day, we're packing up to leave. I'm seeing his head bobbing at the bottom of this hill that's off in the distance. And what it is, it's the levee for the pond holding the water in. And at the end of it, there's a patch of woods. You can see this head just going back and forth, left to right, left to right, left to right. No wind blowing, 20 degrees, 8-something in the morning. It's cold. We're all wanting to go home. And so we did. But I'm sitting here looking at this. I called the other guy over. Man, I ain't got time. I want to get out here, blah, blah. So I just threw my phone up, zoomed it in the best I could, took a picture. You can see the head in it, sitting still. But up here, a little further up on the hill, there is a figure of a head, shoulders, arm, black. And I'm like, that's got, what else could it be?
Meet the computer you can talk to. With Copilot on Windows, working, creating, and collaborating is as easy as talking. Got writer's block? Share your screen with Copilot Vision to help spark inspiration, and use Copilot Voice to have a conversation and brainstorm ideas. Or maybe you need some tech help. With Copilot Vision, Copilot sees what you see. Let Copilot talk you through step-by-step guidance so you can master new apps, games, and skills faster. Try now at windows.com/Copilot.
I know pareidolia, aware of it very well. And so I'm like, great. And that was all that went on at that time. Now, jump forward to the next April. One of the guys wanted to have his birthday party out there. It's fairly quiet. We have barn owls going off to one side, and then I'm over here having a who contest with one for about 10 minutes, just going back and forth. Who? Come back, who? And this thing was a good ways off, down the road, up a hill, in the woods. And it's not like a owl who. It's like a human who. I mean, out there, everybody hears whoops. Out there, what you hear is whoos. Never heard a whoop whatsoever. And so that had finally quit, and a bunch of people had went home, and next day it's not, everything just ran fairly quiet. Everything was going off at a distance. Well, come Sunday morning, starting to rain a little bit, everybody's packing up. I'm the last one up. So get up. We start packing everything up, get on the road. I've got daughter behind me with her husband and 2 kids. But they're a little ways back. We get up on the pavement, driving up. Here's this clearing, this opening, going out into a field. Not very big, but just enough to see. There's one walking across the field. This is about 9 o'clock of the morning. Black. Massive. I'm talking about black, shiny hair. Looks like he's well groomed. And he's walking across there. It's kind of like the paddy stance of him walking. It's a side view. And he throws them arms up, and you can see the hair is hanging down 8 to 10 inches long. You can see the hair hanging down off his thighs when he's picking his foot up to step forward. And we're watching this for probably a good 2 minutes. One thing about it is, everybody always says, well, what did you get your phone out? I was not about to miss 1 minute of that. There was no way. Believe me, don't believe me, I don't care. Me and my wife was sitting there and watched it, gliding across that field with just such ease, such smoothness. And it was a big boy. I mean, he was massive. Did he turn his head? No. I guess I could have honked my horn, rolled my window down and yelled. I didn't. Me and my wife just sat there and wanted to watch what we could. And that was probably the best visual sighting I had of one. And so I thought, this great God, who's going to believe this? No video, no. And even with today, what good would it do to even get video of one with this AI that's come out like it has? It's a waste of time. Ain't nobody going to believe it. I mean, I went out there for myself. I didn't go out there for anybody else. But to watch this creature, and I don't know if you can call it a creature, if you can call it a man, or what it is. It ain't an ape, or at least not any ape that we know of. It's intelligent. It's got a language. I've heard that. But to watch this thing glide across that field like a well-trained hunter was just amazing. Because what do you do when you walk through a field? You don't drag your feet. Pick your feet up, move it forward. And it's like they know exactly what they're doing out there. But this had to be one of the best sights I seen of one. And it was just beautiful to see this thing glide. I mean, it wasn't so much shock, it was all awe. I can't believe that I've seen this. And of course, go a little time further. I had a falling out with a group. So me and my wife had went out with her brother. We'd went out there one night camping. I threw up a screened-in tent, keep the bugs off of you. And I'm sitting there with a shotgun loaded with deer rounds. I've got a 44 Magnum. I upgraded my little 9mm to a 44 Magnum with bear rounds. I've got cameras in there, video equipment. I've got everything in that tent imaginable. And my head is on a swivel going back and forth, because I'm right there at the road. And I'm looking at the parking lot, looking up the road, parking lot. I got woods 20 feet in front of us. Gets about 2 o'clock, and the moon starts going down. The wind starts dying down. And I look over, and here's this shadow of one, which I wouldn't call it a shadow. That's what they look like, moving through the dark. And I seen this shadow of one running across the parking lot. I'm like, okay, they're here. I'd sat there for a while, and one started walking across in front of me, just inside the woods. I'm talking about 8 steps covered like 40 feet. I could hear the leaves crunching and little twigs breaking every time it stepped. And it went right across in front of me. They were trying to figure out what was going on with that tent because they could see into it. Fire going, running, back behind me. And so it walks on by. Well, I've got Mother Nature calling. And so I finally get out of the tent, go to the back of the other tent where my wife and her brother's at. And I'm getting in totes, getting stuff out to go use the bathroom. And there's a puppy dog barking on the other side of the parking lot, just inside the woods. And I'm like, what is going on? And it was the only time I'd ever heard the thing bark. So I grabbed the stuff, went off to the side a bit, done my business, come back over, put stuff up. I go over, sit in a chair, give me a soda. It's pretty late. And I'm just looking up, looking at some strange lights that was moving through the sky, especially one doing a 290s getting out from in front of a commercial jet. And then limbs started breaking on the other side of the parking lot. Well, they're bored. I'm just sitting there. So I get up, I walk over, I sit on this big boulder that's by the parking lot. And I just sat there and talked to them for a couple hours. I'm sitting there, hey, I'm Eric, trying to get them to talk, trying to get them to respond, throwing them apples. I was throwing some apples out there in the woods. I didn't get nothing thrown back at me, luckily. But I sat there for quite a while, and when it seemed like they had left, and I went on back, sat down, and started doing what I was doing. But I had such a calmness about me. It's like something I'd never had happen. I'm sitting there with all kinds of equipment, ready to record, ready to do something, ready to defend myself. And I could care less. And it's like they had zapped me. They had hit me with something to keep me calm. So I end up being up all night. And wife and brother, they finally get up and they're like, well, we're going to go get some breakfast. I said, well, I'm going to go down here at the pond, do some fishing and stuff. 4 good-sized catfish. And they had gotten back. And by the time they had got back, I had time to sit and think about everything that was going on. And I told the wife, I said, we got to go home. I said, what do you mean? We got to go home. Something bad is going to happen if we stay here. Because we were supposed to stay 2 nights, and this was just the first one. And she said, I don't understand. You always come for 2. I said, I know. But I've just got this overwhelming feeling, and we have got to leave, period. And so we packed up and we left. When I got home, I was fine. I was perfectly fine. Felt normal, wasn't nervous, wasn't scared. And I didn't go back out there for a year and a half. But the thing of it is, the creek if it was daytime, I'd show you the creek here in the backyard. I'm out here on the back deck. So the creek connects to the creek up there where they're at. I found footprints in my yard. Followed me home. And I do a little fishing here and there. Well, I went a few miles up the creek. Right here, fishing in my backyard ain't very good. So I went up the creek a few miles where there's a concrete bridge. I was fishing there. I just caught a trout. I was putting it on stringer. Went to toss back out. Here's a Bigfoot about 30 feet in front of me. He's bent over, got a hold of a tree, looking down, trying to look inconspicuous. Now, I know people say that they're able to blend in. And this is one time I would have to say, yep. Because after seeing the one with the shiny black hair, now here's one that looks dull, trying to look like a shadow that you can't even see through. It's solid. You can tell it's solid. And so I just got mad, started yelling and cussing, telling it to leave me alone, go away. I'm not here for you. I don't want nothing to do with you. Go on. Cast it out about 3 more times, looked back over there, gone. And I'm like, great. That's the way I want to keep it. Well, I finally went back out there last October. I'd been out there a few times, took a couple of the grandsons out there, walking the trails at night. But they wanted to go. I figured, well, if we just go and there's nobody there, they're not going to be around. So we walked the trails one night, and there's this one spot in the trail that just stays wet. Well, here's a print, just big as life. I said, well, boys, this one's pretty fresh. It's still wet. And see, the mud is still soft around it. I said, this one just came through not long ago. Well, Papa, it's getting awful late. Maybe we need to head back, going back to campfire. And we get back to campfire, then it's like, oh, I think we need to go home. They didn't ask to go back out there after that. But I finally went out there last October camping. I do a ghost bit, Dark Path Paranormal, and other strange things. It's on Facebook. And we've been doing that for like 15 years, and I've been seeing ghosts since I was like 13. In fact, I got to see a full apparition here in my house about 2 years ago. I live on an old Indian reservation that's not far from the Trail of Tears, north of Cape. And it was 2 different groups of Indians. And this little Indian girl come walking up the stairs from the basement, following my daughter-in-law, followed her to the kitchen, then followed her back down, and the whole time this ghost was coming up and going down, she was just staring at me. And I'm just staring back at her, and whenever they went back downstairs, I grabbed my phone. I said, what's the deal? I just worked the night before, got to work that night. I fell asleep in my recliner. And I asked the wife, I said, why has she got somebody else in the house knowing that I've got to work this afternoon? And so wife had texted her and told her. Well, later on, after I got up, she came up there and told me, said, there was nobody here. Nobody. And I was kind of starting to put 2 to 2 together, because the dress was like a red leather dress, but it's not like that fake leather. I'm talking about, cowhide leather. Only it was red, and it had these little tassels on it, kind of like a short piece of yarn. that had been looped through and sticking out, and in spots on the dress. And so I'm like, okay, I can only chalk this up to one thing because it's not the first time. Lived in a house for 12 years that was haunted. Seen my first full apparition when I was 13, squirrel hunting with my dad and my brother. So it's like I've always seemed to have had some type of interaction with ghosts. It makes me wonder if I've got it helps me with the Bigfoot. Because it seems like whenever I'm there, something happens. I mean, when I went out this last October, first night was dead. Second night, we were sitting around. I was kind of tired. So girl, it was her first time out there, asked me to do a call. I did, got a response, probably 50 yards from where we were at, off in the woods. Another call, another response, another call, another response. And she's like, oh my God, I can't believe this. And I said, yep. So that was about 10. At 1, I got up, came out of the tent. Mother Nature, of course. I'm old. And when I went back in the tent and laid back down, I was right back out of it because it was the second night. She said limbs started breaking behind her tent there in the woods. Just started snapping and breaking and everything else. And it being her first time, she didn't know what to do. I said, well, you should have woke me up. She's like, well, what would you have done? I would have got out there, sat on a rock, and started talking to him. And she just thought I was crazy. And I said, look, I'm trying to get one to come out in the open. I've not seen a face. I've not seen all that good of, view of one other than a side view, shadow running across, faded out, hanging on to a tree. The best one was, I said, I want to see one face to face. I want them to come out. I want to try to get them to interact. And she said, you're nuts. I said, yeah. I said, I'm old. I'm 63. Just retired last year. And I'm like, that's what I'm here for. I said, I'm here for myself. I'm not here for somebody else. I know you want to see one. There's another guy that's joined with us. He wants to see one. And so that's the goal. Eventually, I'm going to hopefully get one to step out. I mean, the only time you're going to see these things is when they screw up. I mean, the one in the parking lot screwed up. The one out in the field didn't know we were there. The one that got caught running across the parking lot, I just so happened to turn my head. The one fishing, he was doing his best not to be spotted. It's just the fact that I knew what to look for and wasn't even looking for it. It was just like, boom, there it is. And there's been a whole lot more that's gone on out there, yelling, screaming. I've had one scream at me the first time I was out there. I had one scream a few miles off. Guy had gotten run off the night before. Me and the wife said we were going to stay. This was the first experience, and I'd done a yell at 11, and it gave a reply. It was probably on down toward the Mississippi River. 2 hours later, 1 o'clock, wife says, well, I'm going to lay down in the car. We had gotten rid of all of her camping gear a few years before, so we were going to just camp in the car. And she started getting the car, and here come this yell right down the road. I'm like, nope, I'm not answering that. I ain't doing it. I ain't getting him up there. But the thing of it is, when we were sitting there for about an hour by ourselves, because there was a group of people out there for a little bit, but from 12 to 1, we were just sitting out there by ourselves. And we just both looked up at each other, started blaming each other for this stench. She's sitting there blaming me. I'm blaming her. Now that I've had a little bit more experience of one being real close, we had one that was probably within 10 to 15 feet in the dark, in the dark. The only thing we had lit up out there was my wife's phone reading a book. That was the only light we had out there. And the rest of it was pretty much pitch black. And we just figured this thing got pretty close to us. And after it had run a guy off the night before, about 30 of them had run him off. I mean, there's just so many different things. And then the first time me and that guy went out there, and this couple that came out, checked on us, they left. It's 7:15 in June. June of 2020 is when it started going. And he says, "Hey, you going to do your call? I hear you're pretty good at it." I said, "Well, I can try one." I said, "I think it's a little early," and I'd done a big yell and stood there a minute, nothing. Took my phone off record, walked back to the truck, got me a soda, got right in front of my tent, and here come the biggest, loudest scream you've ever heard. Now, the other guy was way up, parked by the road. He's the one that had gotten run off a few weeks earlier. Here he is standing next to me with his shoes back on, saying, see, I told you, see. And this thing's still going off. And all I can do is look the woods behind my tent.
Tito's Handmade Vodka is America's favorite vodka for a reason. From the first legal distillery in Texas, Tito's is 6 times distilled till it's just right. And naturally gluten-free, making it a high-quality spirit that mixes with just about anything. From the smoothest martinis to the best Bloody Marys. Tito's is known for giving back, teaming up with nonprofits to serve its communities and do good for dogs. Make your next cocktail with Tito's. Distilled and bottled by 5th Generation Inc., Austin, Texas. 40% alcohol by volume. Savor responsibly.
At Blinds.com, it's not just about window treatments. It's about you, your style, your space, your way. Whether you DIY or want the pros to handle it all, you'll have the confidence of knowing it's done right. From free expert design help to our 100% satisfaction guarantee, everything we do is made to fit your life and your windows. Because at Blinds.com, the only thing we treat better than windows is you. Black Friday deals are going on all month long. Save up to 45% off site-wide plus an additional 10% off every order right now at Blinds.com. Rules and restrictions apply.
I was wondering, what did I get into? And then later on that night, it sounded like there was a group of them off in the field back behind the camp. 3 of them back there fussing. And then there was another group down by the creek that was fussing at each other. And they were fussing back and forth. And finally, you could hear the ones down by the creek. They had moved on. You could hear them yapping as they moved on. And these 3 that was behind us is like one just, ooh, ooh, ooh. Another one yelping, and a third one giving his opinion. I don't know if they were fighting or it was one of the 2 Fs. And this went on for about 45 minutes. In fact, I've got some of the audio off my phone. I gave it to one guy, but I don't guess he's ever done anything with it. And which I recorded off my phone in the tent. It's not very good. But it was incidences like that had went on during that 2.5 years. I mean, believe me, 1 hour does not cover everything that had went on. And it was just an amazing experience. I mean, here at my house, I'm several miles up that creek. I mean, the creek's just right there on my back. In fact, I own half the creek on my side. And I've got a nice little 5 acres down a private road. Nice and quiet out here. But to be mowing your yard and you'd had the yard tore up from getting a new septic system put in. Grass was starting to grow up, and you look down at the side of the mower. You know how you are when you mow. You'll look to the side, make sure you're clear and stuff. And there's a footprint, just big as life. I'm like, you got to be kidding. Now they're out here at my house. stepdaughter, she swears up and down she was living out here for a year. She'd go out in her car and smoke at night. And she'd take the dogs with her dog and mine. And she said there was nights when them dogs were doing everything they could to climb up in the car with her. She swore up and down, you've got a Bigfoot out there in that patch of woods in front of the house watching us. Could be. I said, and then again, it could be just a bear, could be a deer, could be that they're just chickens. You know, I don't know. I don't take everything as, when I go out in the woods, every little noise I hear, I don't take it as a Bigfoot. I mean, the last time I was with that group, I was doing barn owl calls over my truck. And I got them stirred up all in front of us in the woods. And they were just going off like crazy. And there had been some apples put up there. I didn't know, but there had been some audio recorders set out. And I'm out in the parking lot. I'm away from everybody else, you know, doing the calls with my truck. And it was in between me doing the truck and listening to everything that was going on in the woods. Back off the trail, away from where everybody was listening, there's a trail that goes down to a barn and it heads off to their home. I could hear barn owls going off and laughing. They had left. I mean, the Bigfoot had their fun and they had left. They'd got a good laugh. Well, I went back over there where everybody else was at and I sat down. And one of the guys like, are you scared? I said, no. I've been out there in a parking lot by myself. Why would I be scared? He said, well, all this is going on. I said, it's nothing but barn owls going off. Now, how do you know? I said, I just heard them leave. Doing barn owl calls and laughing. I said, they've all left. I said, you want to walk out in the woods with me? I'll go. I don't have a problem with it. They were gone. And I kind of ticked them off, and I had a falling out with one of the guys, so I pretty much just do it by myself when I get the time. Trying to find some more to go with me. At that time with that group, they were really active going out in the field. Now they don't hardly do anything. The one guy that I was mainly doing the stuff with, he's moved off to Oklahoma. So I've got a couple who will go out with me, but probably not as often as I would like. My wife's not interested in doing it anymore. She said, how many more times can I look at this thing? Till it grabs me under the arms, picks me up, looks me in the face and says, boo, and gives me a heart attack? No, I've had enough. So I pretty much go by myself with a couple others. I'd like to get a bigger group. I would like to set up in different spots around the camp, see if we can get some video, even though it'd probably be a waste of time. Nobody's going to believe it. But just my ultimate goal is to get one to come out, sit down, and try to have a conversation. Whether that'll happen, I don't know. I mean, you hear stories where other people do, but that's what I would really like.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Have you ever heard the Sierra Sounds by Ron Moorhead?
Absolutely.
Okay, so when you heard these guys talking gibberish, did it remind you of that?
Yes.
So that seems to me like it's a common language too, not just in the areas where they're at, but I think like just as a whole, these creatures speak this same language, which it's kind of funny to me that there's enough of them out there that they have this language, but yet people don't think that there's that many in the United States alone, let alone, you know.
Oh, but no.
I think there's a lot
there's
more.
way more than you think.
Yeah, I think there's
way more than you think. I mean, probably between Cape Girardeau and St. Louis, I would say there is at least 2,000 or more. On the other side, from probably the St. Louis down to Memphis, which is pretty much the only town that goes to the bank, there's probably twice that many on that side. I've had reports from guys in Dyersburg, Tennessee. He just goes out there at night, sits in his truck, and listens to them. You know, talking back and forth. That's the way it used to be for us out here in the area that we were doing our work in, that they were very vocal. They were very friendly. They were coming up to camp. But I've been out twice, and I'm not having any luck, which is totally weird. But last year in October going out, I went out there hiking around in January with another one, and we found an oddball print. We found probably a 12-inch elongated 3-toe with a huge arch. It is like no Bigfoot print I've ever seen. I know it ain't a Bigfoot print. There wasn't no claws in the toes. So is it a dog man? It had no resemblance of a canine print. Now right here, I'm like 12 miles from Grand Tower. Grand Tower has a lot of UFO sightings. A woman about, I don't know, year or 2 years ago got pictures of a UFO going across the sky. A year ago, October, I seen one UFO out here in my yard. In fact, the first weekend I went out there in the field, the second night it was dead quiet, and we got to see a triangle UFO. And it's like this area is just a hot spot. I don't know if you've ever heard of Piedmont, Missouri, but they're like the UFO capital of Missouri. And because of a rash of UFO sightings in the 70s. Same way here. The only thing of it is here, the sightings are still going on. Plus you had the UFO crash, 7-8 years before the Roswell here in Cape Girardeau. And it's like Ken had told me one night when we were out there, he was just sitting there on the end of the picnic table looking up. And I'm like, what are you looking for? He said, well, they say where there's UFOs, there's Bigfoot. Where there's Bigfoot, there's UFOs. And I'm like, well, that makes sense. It does seem to be the norm. Plus, we're on this certain parallel where it's with Roswell, the pyramids, everything. It seems like everything happens on this parallel. Now, I lived 100 miles south of here in Kennett, Missouri, and it was all flat, sandy, very few deer. Wildlife was slim to none. And, of course, whoever thought a Bigfoot would be in that area, and they're not. But I believe there with the San Francisco River, they do travel through there from time to time, coming from the Ozarks, going down to Arkansas, in the Ozarks there. But right here where I'm at, I'm like 20 minutes from the river, 20 minutes from where I do this stuff at. I mean, I lived in Kennett. I sold my house, quit my job, moved up here, and, it was just one of those questions that eat at you, seeing all this stuff since you was a kid. I always just thought, well, it's an undocumented ape. That's all it is. It's all I've ever believed. Undocumented ape. I'm wrong. I was proven that it's not an ape. It's intelligent. It is some sort of being. I know a lot of people say, is it interdimensional? I've never seen any type of portal pop up, anything like that. Whenever I do go out, it's always with the same truck, same tent. I wear the same hat so that it makes it easier for them to identify with me. And You know, I mean, I used to watch all the Bigfoot shows, Finding Bigfoot. They couldn't find nothing if they had to. I'm sorry. They're doing it wrong. They're there. They're real. And they can be dangerous. You know, I know a lot of people take their dogs out there. Don't. People that live there in that area where we're at, we had a kid come down here by the campsite one night, and he said that the dog they had to help with their cattle, they found it over by not a strawberry but a blackberry bush with its back broke. The dog had been missing for several days. I said, "What do you think? Maybe a cow stepped on it or something?" He said, "No, cows don't get in that part of the field. They're fenced off from getting in there." It's like, okay. And this kid was a big believer, and a lot of the people that live in that area tend to have problems, you know. And the only thing I can tell them is set up trail cams facing outward off their house. You know, I've got security cameras. Even though out here I'm out in the middle of the boonies, I've got security cameras 360 degrees all the way around my house.
The Who's down in Who Newville were making their list, but some didn't know Walmart has the best brands for their gifts.
What about toys? Do they have brands kids have been wanting all year?
Yep, Barbie, Tony's, and Lego. Gifts that will make them all cheer.
Do you mean they have all the brands I adore?
They have Nintendo, Nespresso, Apple, and more.
What about...
So the Who answered questions from friends till they were blue. Each one listened and shouted, "From Walmart? Who knew?" Shop gifts from top brands for everyone on your list in the Walmart app.
And of course, you can see the infrared light, so I know they can see it, and they just stay away from it, which is really, in a way, is the way I'd like to keep it. I really would.
Well, Eric, we want to thank you so much for being on the show with us tonight and telling us all your encounters and experiences.
Yeah,
well, I'm sorry I didn't give you a chance to ask questions.
No, that's all right.
That's all right. That's all right.
They don't want to hear us
They'd like
talking
to hear
anyway.
the encounters.
They want to hear you guys talking. So,
yeah.
I mean, I did one several years ago when this thing wound up 3 hours long in a two-parter on Spotify for some guy that had this little bitty one that, you know, I was his 10th show, so I don't know how he's doing now.
Yeah.
Been checked. I enjoyed talking to you.
We appreciate it, man.
Yeah, we enjoyed it too.
We'll bring you back on sometime. I hope we can talk some more.
I hope this helps.
Sounds like you have a lot more to talk about. So, yeah, we'd be happy to have you back.
There is a lot of detail that I come nowhere even close to covering.
Okay.
I mean, the small, minute details.
Well, we'll get back with you sometime down the road, and we'll talk again.
All right.
Absolutely.
I was going to tell you, send me that recording if you want to, and I'll see if I can enhance it and get something going with it.
Okay.
All right. You have a good night, buddy.
All right. You too.
Take
All
care.
right.
Thanks again.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, like we said, man, he's had a lot going on.
Yeah, he did. Holy smoke.
We really didn't get to ask him too many questions, so
no, which is fine sometimes. Just let him tell the stories.
Yeah. So we'll get him back on sometime down the road and see what else he's got to say.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was cool having him on, man. Talking about all that.
Yeah, it was. Yep.
All right, Brian, my friend. Awesome hanging out with you, brother, as always.
Always fun, brother. Always learning.
All right, until next time.
Yep. See ya.